On July 2nd, Microsoft made the announcement that they laid off 9,000 employees. It seems out of those 9,000, there were 2,000 that were let go from Xbox and Microsoft gaming divisions. According to The Verge, they completely shut down the Initiative Studio, which in turn canceled Perfect Dark. Rare's Everwild was canceled. The developers behind Forza Motorsport, Turn 10 Studios, lost close to half of their workforce. ZeniMax Online, the developers of Elder Scrolls Online, reportedly had layoffs as well. They were working on a new MMO called Project Blackbird, which was shelved. However, as we all know in gaming and tech companies, when something is shelved, it's almost certainly canceled. This is disappointing as well because ESO is a strong game with a dedicated fan base that has consistent updates. Typical player numbers, according to my research, are 14,000 to 25,000 minimum daily. This isn't the first time since Activision Blizzard King was acquired that there have been layoffs. One thing I will point out is Microsoft and Xbox are not the only ones to lay off developers. Sony has done this, and there are many others, EA being a big culprit. Prime examples being Anthem and the latest Dragon Age game. Those games underperforming, according to them, led to layoffs. What's upsetting about this more than anything is just how unnecessary this all is. These are companies worth millions and millions of dollars, and in Microsoft's case, worth $3.65 trillion. With that type of capital behind you, it's both appalling and disgraceful to fire people to be your immediate reaction to solving it. If your team isn't meeting expectations and sales goals, the way to remedy that is not through fear of losing your job, it's through talking to your team, figuring out what isn't working, letting them work on projects they're passionate about. If an artist or creative person gets to work on something they're at least interested in, they are going to do better work than someone who is working on a project that is either a desperate cash grab or chasing a trend. If there has to be losses, it needs to come from the top CEOs and managers. They need to show accountability. Again, that doesn't mean they lose their job. Cut bonuses if needed. Take a salary cut until you right the ship. In 2011, Nintendo's president at that time took a pay cut when their financials were not meeting what they projected to avoid layoffs. He took a 50% pay cut. This is true leadership and accountability. To my knowledge, at the time of making this video, no one at Microsoft has taken any pay cuts. This is an issue because the typical salary for a developer, according to my research, is at highest between $75,000 to $131,000. We all know CEOs and high-up management in companies like this typically make much more than that, from $1 to several million dollars depending upon bonuses and other factors. This is not okay that a frontline worker doing their job and what they are told by management immediately gets axed when a game doesn't meet sales expectations. A productive, happy employee cannot be that if they are constantly in fear of if what I'm working on doesn't perform well, if I have to find another way to pay my bills. There should be a culture of, okay, this didn't work, what's next for us? Let's learn from our mistakes, take customer feedback, and our next game will be better. The other issue is, as mentioned before, a large amount of games deemed as failures by companies are cash grabs, not what customers want, or what developers really want to work on. Anthem had a tumultuous development cycle, where they wanted to make it a good game, and every time they spoke to management about, well, hey, Destiny does this, and we should do that, they were shut down and told not to reference Destiny again. That's a failure of leadership, because yes, you don't want to copy, however, you do want to see what makes your competition successful, and maybe take a few plays out of their playbook and put your own creative spin on it. I would say the two biggest culprits of what leads to layoffs is not making games that us gamers want to see, Splinter Cell returning or being rebooted as an example, another one being a new Batman game or Superman game, instead of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and lastly, staying within budget and having a reasonable budget. I feel if companies did these things, the industry would be far healthier and more future-proofed. Now, to end this video, I will say this. Predominantly, I am an Xbox player. It's where most of my gaming library is, and their exclusives at the time were the ones I chose. I'm more upset because I love Xbox, and we all know Microsoft has the money to easily absorb any financial setbacks that could occur. I am by no means saying Nintendo or Sony are guiltless. I just wanted to point out in this particular area, Nintendo seems to be the ones handling it best. They are hiring employees this year, not firing them. These are my thoughts about the hobby and industry I love, being cold and calculating over being compassionate and still being financially successful. The only businesses I understand ever having to make hard decisions like this are small companies that have to hit their margins to keep their doors open, not publicly traded companies that constantly need more and more and more. You can't expect your employees to want to come to work and make good games if they are constantly nervous about what the next fiscal year will bring and if their future depends on the bigwigs upstairs needing a bigger yacht or another 5 to 10 cards to add to the collection.